Remember when Captain Picard was assimilated by the Borg?
Yep. That was pretty good, Ep.
Yeah, that was pretty good. You know what's better than that shit? Being assimilated by an intergalactic goopy ass creature that somehow built a fucking spaceship.
Yeah, it did. Also, yes, it is better than that.
It is way better. Today we're talking about John Carpenter's The Thing.
And definitely not Star Trek.
His only ghetto movie.
Yeah, Da Thang.
It's only about stuff.
Starring Coolio.
I had nothing.
Nope, clearly.
Remotely gangsta to say. But anyway, yeah, we are talking about The Thing, which is, as aforementioned, not gangsta at all. But it is fucking badass, so in that sense, I guess it's gangsta.
It's pretty OG.
I'm really sticking to the gangsta.
It's an OG when it comes to horror.
It is, man, and that's the thing. I don't think anybody nowadays can question that The Thing is a classic of horror. It's definitely in the fucking pantheon of horror.
Yep.
And now, if you're not familiar with The Thing, then the hell's wrong with you? And two, you may not be. You may, in fact, be confused because there's various iterations.
They're all just called The Thing.
And they're all just called The Thing. Well, the
original.
The original's called The Thing from Another World. But still, it's The Thing.
Yeah.
But it's worthy to note that the one we're talking about, first of all, is 1982's The Thing. Or The Thing.
Yep.
And
starring
it's the one starring fucking Kurt Russell.
Oh, not Ice Cube?
Not Ice Cube.
There is Ice Cubes in it, though.
Lots of Ice Cubes. Natural ones, thankfully.
Yep.
Not that's insinuating that Ice Cube is not natural, but anyway. The point is, there's ice in it. That's the fucking point. No, there was you can't really call it a remake. It was a prequel of sorts back in 2011, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Which was, met with a kind of lukewarm reception. Mm-hmm. We won't get into those issues right now because it's not relevant to this. But this is basically a reimagining of an old-ass movie from, I think the 50s, if I remember correctly, called The Thing from Another World. And I say reimagining because it's not technically a remake, but it is, but it's not.
It's like a
and then we got to remember that it's also, that movie, the original Thing from Another World, is based on a short story called Who Goes There?
So it's basically an adaptation, another adaptation.
It is and it isn't.
Because, but then not really.
Yeah, because Carpenter takes influences from the film, the book, but the story, but also injects all these Carpenterisms into it that make it distinctly his own.
It really is John Carpenter's.
Yes, and that, call it vanity, but all his movies have that tag, John Carpenter's blank, whatever it is. Even when he's adapting something.
Yeah.
And that is very true to form. It's not vanity. It's the fact that it is his vision of things.
Things.
And in this case, The Thing. But, this is John Carpenter's first foray into massive studio movies. And, unfortunately, his last one. Because this pretty much killed his career in terms of making big budget movies. He had built up so much steam up to this point that he was kind of like infallible. Anything he produced and directed made money in the box office. And that was basically because he lingered in the cult and horror genre.
Lower budget shit.
Very low budget, so there was no way it couldn't make a profit. But here, his mettle was tested with a big studio picture, and they gave him. He had built enough, rapport with the audience and respect in the community that they gave him a substantial budget to use. Question was, is this going to make you and break you? And like we said, it kind of, in a sense, broke him in the way that he never had that much access to that much money again. But it also spurred a creative period that went unmatched, even by himself eventually, for a while, As he struggled to get funding for other movies, it only caused him to be much more clever and creative with what was handed to him. So in a lot of ways, even though this was the peak in terms of his career in a lot of ways, it was also what instigated a second golden age for him. That even he couldn't muster up the talent to duplicate.
Lasted pretty long until Ice Cube killed it. Which brings us back to the OG thing.
Full fucking circle with that. But anyway, we're talking about The Thing here. Now, we say that it killed his career. Does that mean it's a bad movie? Of course not. It's a fucking classic. That's why
it just failed financially.
Yeah, it failed financially, and that goes to show you how things can go with cinema. You know, for all the crap that we call great and classic, eventually we get tired of it.
Yeah.
And it's overexposed. And then some things that we call crap at the time, later we realize we're complete fucking fools. I mean, this...
Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, it's going to happen with a lot of movies that nowadays are being lambasted. And vice versa. A lot of movies that we hold classic are going to be
not going to age well.
Yeah, they're not going to age well. I'm talking about the Marvel movies at this point. We love them, but some of them are not going to age well. But, you know, it just goes to show you that's how things go.
Yeah.
And that's how it went for The Thing. When it came out, the critics mauled the fuck out of it. There was nobody out there really, you know, that was distinguished in a worthy note that really stood up for this movie. And one of the big points they brought up against it was that they basically said it was a cheap excuse to show blood and gore. Which... it's really fucking not.
No.
The fact that the blood and guts are there, and they're not even like human blood and guts, so you can't even go, they were just tickling that particular pickle for the audience. You know, the effects are literally out of this world in the sense that it's nothing really human that you're seeing, so it makes no sense to go for that jugular that, you know, like that pun there. It was totally unintentional, and then that ruined it. But anyway... so I think that criticism is wholly unfair, and I think that's been revised as you know, time has passed. People have realized, yeah, we were stupid to say that, because there's really no justification to that point. If anything, the effects add to the ominous vibe of it all, because they are so inhuman. They are so representative of the villainous entity in this that it can't help but to unsettle. And not because they're gruesome, which they are, mind you, but they're fascinatingly gruesome in this, in that kind of body horror way.
If anything, I would say that it's obviously it does eventually show a lot of the gore, but early on it just kind of shows you little glimpses, which just kind of gets you more interested in what it is, and then it, like, you know, busts a nut in your face with gore, but it's all there for a reason.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of critics, especially the, you know, kind of hoity-toity, stuck-up bastard critics, their idea of horror is, if you show anything at all, we're going to hate it.
You're depraved, you know, sometimes, you show a little blood.
Yeah, sometimes that's true, you know, like, we could argue that the Jason movies are, you know, just a goregasm. That's really what they are. It's what they're about.
It's not even worth it.
Now, we love them.
I mean, yes, we do.
I mean, well, for what they are, you know? We as horror fans, but we as horror fans can understand why somebody wouldn't love that. It's obvious. They're essentially plotless drivel that's just cheap, you know, excuse to show some blood and guts. This, on the other hand, is not that. It just happens to have blood and guts. But anyway, what the thing is here is that, man, these puns just keep coming out. The thing with the thing is that its fear, its ambiance, its atmosphere doesn't come from the effects. They contribute to it. They contribute to the unease. The fear comes from the situation that our characters are in. And if there was ever an embodiment of paranoia on film, this is it. I mean, the whole fucking movie, even having seen it, you know, tens of times, I still feel uneasy every time I see it. I still feel paranoid. I still question who is the thing to date, and that says a lot about the movie. You know, that I know exactly what's gonna happen, and it still puts me in that place, in that frame of mind. Would you say that's the same for you?
Yeah, because that's how the movie's built, pretty much. It shows you multiple times where someone could be the thing or could be turned into the thing, but it never tells you concretely. So the whole time you're like, who is the thing, even though you already know.
And the fact that it shows you the face value of what it can be amplifies your fear and your paranoia of who may be it next. Because there's something about the idea, this is why body horror works, and this is why it kind of touches on this. Body horror works because it's terrifying to think that your own body would betray you. Now amplify that times 10. It's not even you anymore. You've been assimilated. You've been taken over by something. You've been totally betrayed, but it's still you in a sense. You know, and then take away, it's the terror of not knowing. Take away the idea that you know who the fuck it is. That may be something else. I mean, it's chock full of that feeling of that terrifying atmosphere the whole time because of that. And it has nothing to do with the effects. The effects just serve the purpose of showing you this could be you.
Yeah,
this could be your friend. This could be that guy over there.
Basically, just gives people a reason to be scared of the thing.
Yes.
And I keep saying the thing, but it's kind of hard not to.
I mean, it is the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we said, this was based on a short story. I haven't read this short story in a long time. I read it when I was very young. When I first saw the thing, in fact, I sought it out and I read it. And I haven't seen the original Thing from Another World since about the same time, because this really did completely overshadow them. You know, this version of the Thing is the one everybody thinks about. I think it's the one that everybody will continue to think about, and that's been proven by the recent attempt at a pseudo prequel. It just is, and it is considered John Carpenter's masterpiece by a lot of people, and from a man that gave us so many iconic movies, that says a lot on its own. It's also worthy to note that this is one of 3 movies in the End of the World trilogy. Not that they're linked to each other, it's just a thematic trilogy in the sense that
kind of like Shaun and Hot Fuzz and all that stuff.
Yeah, the themes.
Except for there's an actual theme between them, not just a freaking ice cream.
I was gonna totally ignore your comment, but yes, ice cream is not the theme. Although there is a lot of ice.
There is.
And I guess you could cream it up. But anyway, yeah, they're a thematic series. The Thing was the first foray into this. The second foray was Prince of Darkness. And the third was In the Mouth of Madness. And the idea was to explore the concept of the end of the world via different factors. In the case of The Thing, an alien invasion, basically, a viral invasion. In the case of Prince of Darkness, we had a more spiritual angle and a scientific angle. And in the case of In the Mouth of Madness, it was a much more Lovecraftian approach. And they're all fantastic in their own ways. But would you say this is your favorite of the 3? Would you say, where does it stand?
Yeah. I don't think it's my favorite. It used to be my favorite, and it's still one of my favorites. I would say it's my second favorite. My favorite one, upon rewatching it, is probably In the Mouth of Madness, because we don't get movies like that, like ever, and it's really unique. That being said, The Thing is high up there. They're like on even ground for me.
Yeah, it's hard to pick. I would say that technically speaking, really as a whole picture, in all aspects, The Thing is superior to the other 2. Yeah. And on top of that, it has the benefit of having the budget to explore a lot more. But conceptually, for me, I gotta say Prince of Darkness is my favorite of the 3.
Yeah, I do have to rewatch it.
It goes. That's the thing about this trilogy, so to speak, is that you can just go from one to the other. But I think it goes without argument that, technically speaking, The Thing is a much better structured film. It had, of course, a lot more liberty. And this was, again, Carpenter at the height of his power. So let's explore that a bit. The movie is kind of dependent on an ensemble cast, even though Kurt Russell is our kind of leading man, our de facto leader as it becomes. And it comes so naturally in the picture because he doesn't start that way. He is kind of, just an everyman in the group. But before we get into that, into the nitty gritty, if you haven't seen The Thing, go see it. If you have, then talk about it with us right here, right now. But just a little brief recap. Basically, first of all, it takes place in the 80s on site at an Antarctic expedition camp for the Americans and a nearby Norwegian camp, or Swedes, according to Kurt Russell's insistence, something has gone wrong at the camp, and the last few stragglers, the last few survivors have been hunting down an escaped hound, if you will, and that hound finds its way into the American camp, and chaos ensues. The point is, the Americans have to go and explore what is going on at this camp, only to find out that they've uncovered what essentially is a downed UFO and
some sort of
tissue mass, weird,
shit,
and it's kind of like a little mystery to begin with. It has that air of a mystery because you as a viewer as well as them want to know exactly what this is, from whence it came, what it is, and the way the movie feeds that information to you is very natural and progressive. It doesn't, bother with tons of exposition at the beginning. It naturally develops it at a pace that I think it works wonderfully even today. I never, upon rewatching this movie, go, all right, we need to hurry up. Sometimes I get that feeling with movies that I know so well. It's like, all right, I already know this. Just get to the fucking point here. I never get that feeling with a Thing. It's kind of like, man, this just feels like the perfect pace for the unveiling of the facts. So once we get those facts, basically, this is an entity, a creature, an alien being that has been planet hopping. It crash landed on fucking Earth thousands upon thousands of years ago. And the thing is, it assimilates any living tissue, animal, human in our cases, and becomes it, and it could easily devour our whole fucking planet. Mm-hmm. This leads, of course, to the fact that these fucking fuckers are isolated in the Antarctic, which is the setup. That's really the thrust of the fucking movie. This whole paranoid, isolated, almost claustrophobic feeling.
But there's always the threat. The Thing wants to make it to a populated area.
Yes.
And so there's always that, like, looming threat of, like, ooh, this baby gets into the world, we're screwed.
Yeah. And therein comes the end of the world scenario, and that's always the big threat, and it really brings out a lot in the characters as their values begin to change from self-preservation, which mimic the Thing because it wants to live just like them. It is a creature after all. It is alive. It changes their values from we want to live just like it, we want to survive just like it, to we got to do something to stop it from consuming the world. And that is character growth that no matter how the characters behave, no matter how awful they might be or how relatable they might be, we can side with them as the viewers because we don't want our fucking world to die. So we can side with that. And that, I mean, to give you an assortment, an ensemble of characters that is so vast and different and make you immediately like them because of that, no matter how they act or who they might be or how they might be, that's an achievement in itself. But yeah, man, it's pretty wonderful setup. Everything falls in place pretty great. But let's talk about these characters and the actors portraying them. We have
Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley. So your diabetes is covered.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, Kurt Russell, of course, is the standout. I mean, everybody remembers Kurt Russell as MacReady.
Classic Keith David.
Keith David. I was gonna say that if you like your sassy black dudes in movies, ain't no better guy than Keith David.
I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna lie. If John Carpenter ever comes back into horror directing, he's got to team up with Keith David again because they've had some hits.
Yeah.
Specifically, a 20-minute fight scene with 10,000 hits. And Roddy Piper. It's not in this movie, so I don't know why I brought it up.
Yep, that was bizarre and totally unrelated. Yep. But anyway,
Keith David was the thing that held that together.
What do you think about the cast of characters we have here? Anybody you don't like? Anybody stands out?
No, everybody's pretty damn great. Even the ones that are a little bit unlikable, because the thing. There's not really anybody who is unlikable. There's people who act a certain way because it's you understand why people act certain ways. Yeah, so you're like, okay, that's fine.
Even when people are irrational or abrasive or whatever, you can relate to why they are that way. You feel the tension. You feel their paranoia. You feel why they would feel the way they feel.
Yeah, so they never go like the route of having one guy who sucks and you hate him.
I think technically that was supposed to be Keith David, and he does come off as very, confrontational at times. And, and I think that's ultimately proven by the fact that he is one of the last, or I should say one of the last two people in the movie to survive. He was supposed to be that character. But, like you say, it's not like they're going for the movie unlikable. Yeah. They're going for a realistic person that if you encountered them, you'd be like, we don't mesh. Me and this guy don't mesh. Yeah. And that's what Keith David portrays.
And even he kind of evolves out of that.
Yeah.
As the movie goes along.
Yeah, so the cast is pretty excellent, man. Everybody stands out.
Especially Wilford Brimley. I wish I was kidding, but he's actually really good.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, that diabetes really helped.
Man, if you want to act well, just get diabetes.
That high insulin helped him survive the fucking ice.
Yeah, it did.
He was like, man, my fucking feet, I didn't feel them anymore, so the fuck cares about the frostbite?
Lost a couple toes, doesn't matter.
Yeah, everybody's fucking great, man. I have zero complaints, except for, I guess, Norris's face.
His face is
fucking
annoying, but he's fine.
Yeah, man, everybody's fantastic, and everybody does a great job. It reminds me kind of like the dynamic of the cast of Predator. Yeah. Only in a much more realistic sense.
Yeah.
In terms that they're not cartoon characters.
Yeah, Predator's kind of like the macho version of the cast in this.
Yeah. In the sense that we like everybody, no matter who they are, and they're all pretty great, and they all work together and off of each other incredibly well. So yeah, the cast, no complaints. The actors all great. Kurt Russell is awesome as always. But let's talk about another character that everybody bitched about, and I say another character because the effects are a character all of their own.
Pretty much
in this fucking movie. The effects were brought to us by the legendary and now apparently fucking
insane
and off the grid Rob Bottin. If you've ever seen interviews with Rob Bottin, he seemed like the most likable fucking dude on the planet Earth. And him and Rick Baker had like a kind of friendly competition, trying to one up each other in terms of effects. Of course, Rick Baker continues to be a trendsetter in the field of effects, and that goes uncontested. But I think even with him gone, I think Rob Bottin's effects always kind of were the ones that stood out for me the most. And this would be, I believe, his masterpiece. What do you got to say about these effects?
Woo! Look, I'm not gonna go ahead and I may be going out on a limb here. But screw it, I'm standing my ground. These are probably my favorite effects in any movie ever.
Yeah.
And I will say it, I think they are not just my favorite effects, but the best effects in a horror movie when it comes to how they look, the effectiveness, and just the overall quality.
Yeah, there are pretty amazing effects.
I've seen this movie a lot, multiple times, and it still shocks me how they freaking accomplish these effects.
Yes. The thing is, they have to create creature, this thing.
Yes.
It really works, the thing
it's
as a
title.
Thing. The thing with the thing is, they had to create things that didn't exist.
Yeah.
That were amalgamations of creatures from other worlds and creatures from our own world that evoked familiarity, but at the same time complete alienness.
Yeah.
And boy fucking howdy do they do that. Just from the first time you fucking see it, which is really with the dogs.
Yeah.
It is
again
unsettling.
When I again, this is a 50,000th time to watch this movie, and yet when that scene came around, I was like, man, this is grotesque.
Yeah.
Surprisingly grotesque. And I think it was meant to be surprisingly grotesque in that first, especially grotesque in that first scene, just to give you an idea of what you're messing with.
Yeah.
After that, they get more creative and more cool to look at. But that first time it appears is like, oh God.
Yeah. Take man's best friend and then flip him the fuck around into the worst fucking thing you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it has that effect. It gets you. It gets you right at the fucking core. Even if you don't like dogs, you understand what dogs mean to man.
Yeah, when you see a dog's head turn into a weird freaking flower and just fall off, you're like, oh God.
Yeah, I mean, it boggles the mind to think of how they came up with these concepts. From the weird fucking tentacle cilia popping out of the dog's body to the flower of flesh and blood, basically.
The head just falling off and there's something being under it.
Yeah.
There's like a layered effect to these creatures.
It's really shocking to see. And then later, as we see the human organism come into play in these bizarre fucking concoctions of flesh, it becomes all the more unsettling because you set yourself in the place there now. So the way they reveal that, first of all, excellent. To go from man's best friend to man fucking himself, awesome.
And not only that, but you kind of get a slight idea of the other things. It's assimilated.
Yeah.
Now if you've seen the original design for the thing, it was just supposed to be a weird bug, and it wasn't cool. And apparently, we do get that in the 2011 version. But in this one, it did it more like this. There is bug elements, like the bug legs you can see right here, but it doesn't give you it. You're never like, oh, it's a weird bug creature. It's just like, oh, that's one of the things it assimilated. That's cool, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Apart from just being a weird crab that hands on your face.
Yeah, we do get glimpses of that, but yeah, they keep the actual identity of the thing vague. Not only contributes to that, vague paranoia aspect of the whole thing, but it was a wise choice because it still keeps the mystery of the creature itself.
Yeah.
In essence, we're seeing faces of it,
yeah,
never the actual thing. So take that, fucking critics. They never technically showed the creature.
Nope.
Ever, despite there being creature fucking galore in the bitch. What is your favorite effect in this? I gotta ask. Is it the one where everybody on set almost died from poisoning because of the fumes?
Actually, yes.
I wish I had that. I have it over there, but I forgot to bring it over.
This is part of it.
That's part of it.
Yeah, because I remember it's always shocking to see the effects, but I remember the one that stuck with me the most was when the doctor is defibrillating that dude and his chest opens up. Because my freaking mind could not grasp how they did that in freaking 80 something. It looks like a green screen, like a good green screen. But no, it was a physical effect, and I still cannot grasp how they did that. And yes, of course, that leads to this thing popping out of the dude's chest, and a freaking head melting off, and a little spider crab. It's just chaos, and it's great.
That's got to be one of the most iconic effect sequences in horror movie history. Nay, movie history. And yeah, the fact that it's all completely physical, all effects, puppeteering, chemicals apparently, all kinds of fucked up shit thrown into a scene that works completely even to date. It's amazing, man.
The part where the head is tongues himself onto a chair and is like crawling away with grotesque sounds is really impressive. How human-like that face is.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's like distorted and all this shit, it still looks like a real thing, like a real creature, which is pretty impressive. And that's something I can say about all the creatures in this. Maybe, some of the stop motion stuff later on, but even that looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Very fluid.
Yeah. It's again, mind-boggling, these effects, for me at least. My favorite effects in any movie, I would say.
Yeah, man, they're definitely up there for me. They stand the test of time. If anything, they're a pie in the face of, in terms when you compare them to CGI.
Yeah.
This is what we can be doing versus CGI. Not that we have a problem with CGI.
No.
It's just that, fuck, man, look at this shit. When you can do it like this, it kind of saddens you that CGI is the way to go. Understandable, but fuck.
It's a big shame that the studio really pushed for that CG in the remake, but we're gonna get to that eventually, or the prequel. For now, we're just talking this, and they're freaking badass.
Why'd you bring it up? But anyway,
because it is worthy to note they ruined those effects.
Again, he's talking about the 2011 version. Yep. Not relevant to this. Just gonna let that hold.
Kind of is, but
also getting a little rutabaga. Yep. But anyway, no, yeah, you're right. It is a shame, but this does show the capability of the physical effects realm, and it's it's like a non-stop cavalcade of that. What are you gonna say now? Why would you even bother with the fucking CGI?
Which is exactly why I brought up the 2011 version.
And let that drop into a fucking bucket until it echoes infinitely. But anyway,
it makes perfect sense to bring it up. You're saying
We're getting off the fucking point here.
No, let me make my point. The physical effects are freaking perfect in this.
We've said this 3,000 times.
Why the hell would you freaking CGI over them? Pie in the face. I'm supporting your point, and you're shitting on me. Move on.
That's what I was trying to get to. Moving on. But anyway, yeah. My personal favorite effect in the whole thing is they're all fucking wonderful. Is still one of the best jump scares ever. People shit on jump scares, but when used effectively, they're fantastic. And this is still one of the best jump scares of all time. And it's when everybody has to undergo a test to see if they are infected by the thing. And it's blood tests with a hot copper wire applied to the blood, because the blood, every cell of the thing is alive. Every cell is basically a thing, or so the concept is thrown at us. And this scene still fucking works, man. It still absolutely positively works. Even the fake out, the line, it doesn't feel like dated or cringy or anything. It just works. Even on occasion, it still makes me jump because it's that effective. And the subsequent transformation of the character that ends up being the thing in that particular scene is, I gotta say, the most disturbing, because it is basically, this is the one where you can't tell even what is happening to the fucking guy. You know, there's no design behind this. It's just basically him turning to like fucking Cronenbergian mush.
It's like a melting dude, basically.
Yeah, and it's
boiling,
super
person.
Unsettling. Yeah, it looks really disturbing, and again, it underlines the idea of, you know, the tones of body horror in this. But yeah, that's got to be my favorite scene in the whole.
That does lead to the only, I think, iffy effect with that guy's legs. But that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. It overshadows the fact that Window's legs are clearly mechanical as he kicks around. You haven't noticed that before, go watch it again. Those legs are fucking skinny as shit.
Yep.
But anyway, we've blown the effects to bits because they're awesome. Let's talk about the score in this. This is one of the few Carpenter flicks that didn't have John Carpenter scoring with a synth, as he's prone to do. What did you think? This, by the way, the score was from Ennio Morricone, the legendary Italian composer, who gave us a bunch of spaghetti westerns, a bunch of classic American films as well. And, you know, old Tarantino's still using tracks from him. But anyway, what'd you think of the score?
It's pretty great. It's still very John Carpenterian.
It is.
Especially the opening, like, doom doom. That's him, basically. So it did capture his feel, which is good for a Carpenter movie. Eerie. Pretty great.
Yeah, man, you're absolutely right in terms that it captures exactly the standard Carpenter track. Yet at the same time, it expounds upon that, but never distractingly so. It's always ominous. It's always dreadful. It's never cumbersome, thankfully, because that could have destroyed a lot of the tension of a lot of scenes if it was, you know, like...
There's bits where it's a little more big than a Carpenter one would be. But that actually kind of works.
Yeah, I think it gives scale and scope to what we're seeing. And it's always at the right times, you know, like when they're traveling to the Norwegian camp, you know, we get strings and a horn section and stuff. And it works wonderfully to create a sense of scope and scale. And and then, of course, later we have the tension. It helps. It's wonderful. What can I say? I love the thing. I think I'm Jewish now. I don't know what the hell is going on. Anyway.
And I got shit on for fact talk. We're going to Jew voice.
Hey, you know what they say about Hollywood. It's run by Jews.
Woo!
I'm trying to tie it in. It's not working out.
Nope.
Anyway.
The thing's a Jew? I don't know. I got nothing.
What? Okay.
I'm trying to tie it in.
We're going to bring in some dreidels now.
Yeah, we are.
Put on our yarmulkes. I don't know how the hell we got into Jewish thing. I guess it started with me doing a weird, stereotypical Jewish voice. Yep. I don't know how the fuck that happened, but it did. Now we're going to get back on track.
Yep.
The last thing we're going to talk about is the visual look and aesthetics of this picture. What are your thoughts? The director of photography is, of course, the legendary Dean Cundey, who worked many a time with Carpenter. What's up? What's your take?
It's pretty good. Again, very, very lonely. It looks cold, so that's good. It doesn't look like a shitty 80s movie, so that's great. This baby aged really well, is what I'm saying, visually. Yeah, I have no complaints. Pretty damn great.
Yeah, again, like in a lot of Carpenter's flicks, there's a use of negative space. Here used wonderfully to create this effect of, like you said, like an isolated wasteland. Not that you need that with fucking Antarctica, but it's not like they shot in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So there's that. But anyway.
It makes you believe like they might have shot in Antarctica. Antarctica?
Antarctica's a thing.
Yeah, Antarctica's a thing.
But yeah, man, and I absolutely love the, it's kind of a Carpenter Cundy thing to put in these tracking shots, and in this movie they put in quite a few of them, and again they're all used in a way that amplifies kind of like the claustrophobic nature of things in this fucking station that they're at. But yeah, everything looks wonderful, man. Just almost beautiful shots, some excellent use of matte paintings that are very, very effective. I'd say realistic, convincing. But you could obviously tell they're matte paintings, but there's a beauty to matte paintings that is unparalleled with creating something like on a computer.
Pretty convincing too.
Yeah.
Especially considering the time and everything.
Yeah, they look wonderful. Again, it has to do more with the charm of matte paintings. There's a reason people love that particular conceit, and it's good to see it because I think in a lot of ways this movie tips a hat to the old school stuff while being, at its time especially, groundbreaking. Speaking of groundbreaking, this broke no ground for a fucking while because of E.T. Everybody wanted friendly ass aliens.
Shit.
So I guess
another reason to hate E.T.
The Jew thing came into effect because Steven Spielberg's Jewish. Huh? See? It all makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how the fuck, but I tied it up. But anyway.
I was waiting for you to bring in a Nazi thing, but I'm glad you didn't.
Why?
Because Jews.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. Well, ruin that. No, anyway.
E.T.
E.T. What? Why am I talking about E.T. now?
E.T. killed the Thing is what you're saying.
E.T. killed the Thing.
So really, if you're gonna do a versus on E.T. versus the Thing,
E.T.
won. No, he won. He doesn't even wins. He won.
Yeah, he won.
He's unfortunate too.
I remember seeing E.T. commercials up until like the early 90s.
Yeah, man.
The fuck, man.
Shit.
Anyway.
Moving on from E.T.
E.T. fucking sucks.
Yeah.
He's alright. He's just the Thing.
Nope.
That's the Thing. Anyway, the Thing's good. This is a fucking horror classic, like I said. There's not even a fucking need to rate this because it's pretty much a 10 unless you disagree.
This is a straight up 10er.
Yeah. Awesome. So, if you haven't seen this movie, check it the fuck out.
Blu-ray is really good too.
Yeah. It's got one of the best endings of all time with its ambiguity, and people discuss it to this very fucking day.
Yeah, there's an insane amount of theories for this movie, which is a sign of a good movie, I would say.
Yeah.
Having people think about it so much 20 years after, or whatever, 30 years at this point after it came out. Pretty damn, it speaks for the quality of this flick.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, check out this fucking movie if you haven't seen it, and if you've seen it, check it out again. Why? Because it's totally worth it. It's amazing. It's awesome. Next, we're gonna check out E.T.
Spoiler! I'm gonna punch his neck and it breaks.
We're not gonna do that. You know what? We should do that because I know you hate E.T.
I'm not a big E.T.
And I love me some E.T. I don't love him.
No.
I'm alright with E.T. So I guess that's the reason we should do it.
It's alright.
Anyway, E.T. We will be checking out a Steven Spielberg movie though. E.T.? Or actually, probably by the time you see this, we will have checked out a Steven Spielberg movie, and that's Ready Player One. So I guess if you're seeing this now, and we already did that, future travel or something. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Going off the rails here on a crazy train.
Big time.
Anyway, it's been Ahab and the Goontick chatting up the old thingy, which is the Bordeaux version.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not good.
Nope.
Anyway, see you later, alligator. Hit them like, shares, and them subscribes. Don't forget about the notification button, because then you'll totally forget we exist, because YouTube licks. And we're out.